I know a lot of you were waiting for a video on the newest hero, and I'm sorry I haven't said something sooner, but unfortunately, it's not going to happen. I quit. And I don't mean in a clickbaity YouTuber kind of way where I'm going to keep making videos. No, I quit Top War completely, and this is my last YouTube video on Top War. But I did want to explain why I'm done with Top War, and I'm sure a bunch of what I say won't come to any surprise to anybody who's played the game for any significant amount of time, but I also have some stuff that I've dealt with when dealing with the developers themselves and River Games, the company that owns Top War, that has given me additional frustration that I'm going to bring up during this video also. Now, my first complaint, of course, is the most obvious, and that's the pay-to-win aspect of Top War. Now, I'm not complaining that they have in-app purchases. There's three types of mobile games. You can either buy a game and actually get a game, or it's free with death by ads, or it's free with in-app purchases. We could all see within a few minutes that Top War had in-app purchases, so we kind of agreed to that by continuing to play. But instead of having in-app purchases that give you like a slight power-up or something that you could get for free otherwise if you just grinded it out, or even just cosmetic stuff, they have taken the route of pay-to-win, which is very different than pay-to-play. They're always putting out stuff that can only be obtained with money that offers enormous increases, and those things are always getting bigger and better than what came out before. My examples would be, look at the oldest heroes versus the newest heroes, or the oldest base skins versus the newest base skins. There's almost no comparison, so if you stop spending at any point, you're almost immediately outdated. And then if you do stop spending, you basically have nothing to do. I mean, about a month ago, maybe a bit longer, I stopped spending completely, and immediately I was bored with the game. I mean, I've always said that Top War gives you a lot to spend on, but not a lot to actually do. But seeing that firsthand really was an eye-opener. This game is boring. Something else that bothers me is the lack of strategy in this supposed strategy game. At least a couple weeks ago when I looked on the Google Play Store, Top War was in 4th place in the strategy category. Yet it seems like Top War is doing everything they can to reduce the amount of strategy that's in this game. I look back to the interview that they hired me to do a little while ago, some of you may have seen. Behind the scenes, they told me that they wanted to advertise the game as a light strategy game instead of a strategy game, which really makes sense since pretty much everybody basically runs the same setup in the game, and if they don't, it's because they don't have the resources to get it and they're trying to get it, or over the last year or so, they've done some updates that seem to reduce the amount of strategy in the game. For example, one of the updates way back when was they took away the ability for you to put whatever component you want in whatever slot. Now, granted, there was such a huge community outcry. I think people were more upset about that than any other update I've seen. But there was such an outcry over that, they had to backpedal a bit and said, okay, everybody over level 60 can do what they want. There was also the class update. Instead of having 4 classes like we used to, now it's down to 2, and on top of that, those 2 classes seem to be carbon copies of each other. Sure, there are some slight differences, but there's a lot more in common with those 2 classes than there was between any of the 4 classes. And then I feel like this part probably doesn't need a whole lot of explanation. Bugs, lag, seems like everything they release, every event has bugs, something's wrong with it, it's unfinished. How about the vote that they did on the official Top War Discord? I believe it was related to how the radar looked. They did a vote to see what players wanted to see, and Top War decided, you know what, screw the vote. We're going to do the exact opposite of what the players asked for, because why not? Now, I could complain about Top War all day, I'm sure, but I want to talk about the behind-the-scenes stuff that I mentioned earlier. And to talk about that, we'd have to go back to the advertisement/interview that they hired me to do a little while ago. And now when they first approached me about doing this ad, I actually told them no, because their ads are misleading and I didn't want to be part of the stigma that it was attached to them. Now, they promised me that they would not make the ads misleading, but more importantly, they said that they were trying to improve relations with the community. And I thought, if that's their motivation, that's something I would be interested in. If we improve relations with the community, that probably means that the game gets better, because they have to, give something to improve the community. And unfortunately, by the time that I realized that that was just bullshit, I had already signed a contract. So I didn't want to risk getting sued by not following through with the contract. So I went ahead and did the interview. If anybody's wondering, I got paid $500. No, it wasn't worth it. If I had the same amount of hours that I put into that interview, if I had just gone to work and done overtime, I would have made more money. It wasn't about the money. I wanted to help out. But unfortunately, I don't feel like I did any helping. And then at the beginning of the interview, the guy was talking, so they hired, just some third-party freelance contractor from California, who drove up here to Washington, and they did the filming, and then I talked with topwar themselves over a Zoom call. Now, the guy I was spoke to was either a developer or handles their marketing department. I'm not sure which, but he said, "Oh, I probably should download the game." Yeah, you're doing an interview about the game. You probably should have had that downloaded a while ago and maybe played it, which makes sense that he probably hasn't played it, because when he was asking me questions, he was breaking things down, and then it would get down to its finest point, and he'd still ask me questions, and there's no answer. I'm like, it's already at its most simplest component, and you're still asking me questions about it? He clearly didn't play the game at all. And then after we did that interview, there was a 5-minute interview that they posted up on their YouTube, and then they broke that down into like 30-second clips that they turned into ads that would go on places like TikTok or Facebook. And they sent me these ads to approve them, and for some reason they're trying to make the game look like Boom Beach. There was a bunch of misleading stuff in there, so I had to fight with them over that, and like, this needs to be changed, this needs to be changed, whatever. To their credit, they did change it, but I did find out in the process that it is apparently against their company policy to use in-game footage in their ads, and instead they have to do something from their animation department. So since I couldn't get them to use in-game footage and have honest ads, I tried to push them in the direction of making cinematic ads instead of just misleading ads. So the stuff looked like more like movies or cutscenes rather than implying like it's another game. This video is already getting pretty long, so I think I'm just going to cut it off here. I am leaving the Discord open for the, for topwar. You can find the link for that in the description below. I'm going to give admin privileges to Redlaw and Magical. They were my earliest mods. They helped me out immensely and have basically run the Discord while I'm not on there and while I'm just sitting here making videos. So thank you guys so much for your help with that. Thank you to everybody else who's been watching the videos and, just making this an enjoyable time and some, a hobby that I really liked doing. But, unfortunately, topwar is it's taken it out of me. So this is my last video, at least on topwar. So thank you guys so much. And as always, have a fantastic day. If you get a mobile game, there's 3 different types of games. You can either buy it. Hello, kitty. No, I'm busy right now. You can either buy it and you get a game. Do you mind? Do you mind? No! Go away!